Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VII. In the last part, we ended off Disc 2 by defeating Shinra and Hojo once and for all, and now before we head off to the final dungeon next part, we're just gonna screw around and do some of the side quest stuff that opens up at this point. To start off, we're actually over in the battle square, because once you're on Disc 3, you have the Ultima weapon on Cloud, you have him learn Omni Slash, and I think one other thing? A new part of the battle square is going to open. You also need the W summon Materia, which we'll be getting that. Actually, no, I think we already have that, don't we? Oh, wait, no, actually, no, I'm trying to get Omni Slash right now, yeah. We can now get the Omni Slash and W Summon Materia here for 64,000 and 32,000, respectively, battle points-wise. So, if you want to get this thing I'm going for, that's a lot of battle points you're going for. But trust me, it's worth it. W Summon does the same thing as W Item, only it does two summons in a row.
Come on, all you need is the W Item material, Ultima Weapon on Cloud, Ribbon, decent defense, at least. That's all you need.
My setup for going into this is the same thing as it was back when we last did this. Ribbon, back row, long range, so on and so forth. I have a feeling that was meant to be cut out.
Did something happen?
The answer to this played twice. Either way, welcome to the special round of the Battle Square. This is an entirely unique set of enemies that only happens here. And for the most part, it's just high-level enemies you've seen towards the endgame areas, like some enemies from the Galnica, a former boss fight, so on and so forth.
It only happens when?
Late game areas. Like, this thing only shows up in, like, the Galnica area.
Oh, no, I mean, you said that the fight only happens X amount of times, or like a certain percentage of the time, it sounded like.
What?
You cut out. I didn't hear all what you were saying.
I don't remember what I was saying. There's some rare encounters here either way. However, there is one particular enemy in here that is very unique. The Ho-Ochu.
Ooh.
This thing was originally supposed to be an encounter you could fight in the Ancient Forest. However, in the final game, it's only fightable here. With that said, 4,300 HP, 750 experience points, 70 AP, 2,500 gil. Absorbs poison, weak to water, can have a circlet stolen from it, and it can, I think, poison you. But otherwise, it's a fairly vanilla enemy.
I'm pretty sure it can put you to sleep with Ochu Dance.
I forget.
Or, oh wait, no, maybe it's Whip Sting, puts you into stop status, I think.
Oh, and I changed it into a ribbon. Yeah, that's something you also want to do. If you want to get a third ribbon, you're going to want the Morph Materia on, because you can morph them into a ribbon. And I think this is the third ribbon you can get in the game, so might as well get it. Also, hi, Unknown 2? 3?
Creepy Touch.
Induces sadness. Yeah, Unknown 3. This is a set in the Battle Square you really want to be prepared for, though. But the setup I used beforehand, honestly, is really good for it. The most time-intensive part of this comes towards the end of it, because the final fight here is something very familiar to those watching the recent parts. I do believe at this point, though, in the game, the usual Battle Square battles have shifted around. You can even run into the ghost ship in the Battle Square, and it can still use the ejection attack, so watch out for that.
I've seen it kill Sephiroth before. There's a video on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that can actually eject him from battle. Oh, that would be terrifying.
Oh, it can. I'll see if I can find it and show it to you.
Alrighty.
So, I'm wondering why you're going for all the handicaps instead of just constantly breaking your weapon and breaking your items, because doesn't that yield more points in the long run?
It does wield more points. However, at this point in the game, since I have Omni Slash, I have the W Summon Materia, I'm just showing this off for the kicks of it.
Fair.
I have no more use for battle points from here on out, so having as few handicaps as possible is preferable to me. Honestly, though, if you have a really well set up Cloud, the special battle isn't too hard. There's a lot of enemies that might scare you just because they show up out of nowhere. In fact, you can even run into this before certain things, depending on when you tackle this. Like, I think you can run into this behemoth before you go to the raid and such. And the main reason I say this is because I know you can run into the final battle of this square before you run into the storyline version of that battle. Although having a random chimera here is kind of weak because that's a disc 1 enemy. Get those clouds. Those clouds crit? Clouds crit.
They do crit. Look at him go.
I applaud me, Kyle. Hi!
It's Proud Claude.
The Proud Claude and Jamar armor return, and you can run into this before the fight at at Midgar, depending on when you decide to tackle this. This is Omnislash, by the way. 13 very powerful attacks, so the first attack is the most powerful out of all of them. It's a gorgeous limit break.
It's not doing all nine. It's not doing quad 9s every time. I'm sad.
I don't think I've ever gotten it to the point where it can do that, if it's even possible, because I think the first attack is just naturally stronger.
It does. If you increase your strength to 255, probably not 255,
that'll do it.
Increasing your strength to at least relatively high, that's a good way to do that.
Either way, since we've already seen this fight before in particular, I'm fast-forwarding through it all because it's just the same fight, only I am one person instead of 3. Overall, if you could beat the Jamar armor and Proud Claude back in Midgar, you should have no problems here. I'd still recommend focusing on the Jamar armor first, just to lower the defense of the Proud Claude. But, yeah. There is a reason to do the special battle, though, because you actually do get a unique materia for clearing it. And we don't even get a boss fade out. That's kind of anticlimactic. For winning, we get what's known as the final attack materia. What that does is that whatever it's linked to, your character will use upon death. For instance, you can link it to Phoenix, so that once your character dies, it automatically revives itself. And also, I guess there's one thing I have yet to show off here in the gold saucer that I might as well, just for completion's sake. There's a little roller coaster right here. This, you can do this early on to get a weapon for, I want to say, Aerith. But ultimately, it's nothing too important. Like, I think it's like an umbrella or something. I think it's her joke weapon, actually, now that I think about it. What you want to do in this minigame is just get a high score as you can. Aim at anything that's moving, and you can more than likely take it out. Try to pace your button presses, though, for the laser, because otherwise you're going to run out of laser power and have to wait for it to recharge. You know, it's funny, though, because... do you watch Kid Icarus at all?
No.
He does a lot of PlayStation game reviews because that's how he basically found his channel, was being the PlayStation dude. But it's interesting looking just how much this particular minigame is more par for the course for PlayStation graphics than anything else in the Final Fantasy games on the system.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of uncolored untextured polygons.
Kind of reminds me of the, well, I guess any time you're defending Mount Fort Condor.
Yeah. This is just kind of pointless in the long run, but admittedly, I do like that something like this is here because it makes it feel more like an actual theme park. It's kind of like, I almost said the Golden Saucer, but no, that's this place. The Golden Saucer in 14, there we go. Although the main draw there is slot machines and Triple Triad. I think the funniest thing you can get for a reward here off the top of my memory is a replica Masamune Sephiroth sword. It's not a weapon or anything, it's just kind of there to be in your inventory.
That's dumb. I feel like it should be like Excalibur and do 1 damage every time Cloud uses it.
or it's the ultimate throw weapon. Oh my god, that would have been smart.
But what would you call it if it was like a mock Masamune? What would you call it if it was a bad weapon?
Mock Samoon? Like Mox-A-Moon, as in like the celestial body.
Oh, nice. That's actually really good.
Real question, can you handle roller coasters that well?
Yeah.
I can't do roller coasters. I think we're about to end this minigame, though. It's actually a lot longer to watch than it is to play, but that's just because that's generally how minigames tend to go. This is the one part where you might need to use some strategy. Just pace your laser blasts to take out the UFO, because this thing has the highest score bonus in the area. Oh, I missed it. No! What am I going to do? What do you mean there's a celestial body about to crash on the Earth?
Wow.
The gold saucer on the whole, though, very useful for side stuff, as you could tell through the chocobo breeding part about a week or two ago, and the battle square can be useful for certain things. But beyond that, the minor attractions that are here for sources aren't really worth much.
Yeah.
What does that give me? Hall of Fame. Hey, first place. Oh, I didn't even make the bottom of the list. That's the bottom of the prize list. That's kind of sad. Also, I guess I'm just showing this off to bring it off. At this point in the game, you can come over here to this part of the gold saucer and do either the snowboarding, the submarine stuff, or the G-bike stuff that we've done throughout the game. I think you get sources for getting above certain scores, but it's not really worth it for me at this point because my stats are good enough. Though I have still yet to use the sources I've gathered throughout the game. I'm saving those for right before the end. So, thanks, Gold Saucer. You've been great. But God, your music has annoyed the shit out of me.
We have a world to save.
We have a world to save, and after spending so long in here, your music annoys me. Alright, and another brief little thing. You can actually come back over here for something. You can now buy the HP and MP Plus Materias. In fact, I'm actually going to do one of those. Actually, no, you can buy those earlier, but I'm actually going to buy one now because I want to have it for what's next. As I remember mentioning earlier, I forget if this was today or last part already, there are 2 super bosses added to the US version of the game, and now it's time to go fight them. This is the party and their accessory setup, and even their materia setup that I'm bringing into this. For the first one, you don't want much materia at all. At the most, you want to have 3 per character, I'd say. HP Plus I have on just to boost my chances of survival. Ketchi only has one thing, that's the underwater materia, because you want that for this next fight. And Yuffie here is going to be the big help in this. Knights in around, links to HP Absorb, W Item, and W Summon. That is key for my particular strategy for this fight.
I'm cheap in this fight. Sometimes I use Knights of the Round, sometimes I don't. It depends on what mood I'm feeling like.
I've only ever beaten this thing with one other strategy, and that's the Unger Max strategy. But yeah, we saw this thing a few parts ago. Time to fight Emerald Weapon.
Yeah, the ultimate boss of the game, technically speaking. He has 1,000,000 hit points, 50,000 EXP, 50,000 AP, and 50,000 gil. He drops the Earth Harp upon defeat, which I believe that... Oh god, I don't remember what that yields, but I remember it being something super good.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely worth it.
It's part of a trade quest. I'll have to think about it. I think it's down here somewhere. But yeah, you want to watch out for a lot of his moves. He can deal a lot of damage. His foot stamp hits the whole group for about maybe 3,000 or so damage. Maybe a little bit less with Kyle's setup, but he does this when the eyes aren't open. He uses Emerald Shoot when the eyes are all gone and they're not open. Hits one character for about 7,000 to 8,000-ish damage with average defenses, and it also acts as a dispel. It takes out Barrier, Magic Barrier, Shield, Death Force, and Resist. Emerald Beam is gravity-based, does 2/3 of everyone in the party's HP, and also cancels Regain, and it's only used when the eyes are present. Revenge Stamp is used... I don't remember what Revenge Stamp actually is used as a counterattack for, but he uses it when there's at least one eye present. And then there's the almighty Airtam Storm, which is used when every single eye is out, and it deals 1 times however much materia is on your character. So, for example, let's say had 0 on Cloud. I believe it would actually do 0 damage to Cloud. I think. I'm pretty sure it would be 0.
I forget if it would be 0 or... I think it's 0, but if you have 9 on a character, they're dead no matter what. This fight, there's a lot of strategies for it. There's one with Unger Max, miming it all the time with Barrett, just do a lot of damage very quickly. There's some where they have 2 characters at max HP, but with 2 materia on them, so that when Air Tam Storm comes out, they both hit Lucky 7s, do 64 hits of 7,777 for about most of his HP, because when maxed out, all Lucky 7s will do just under half its HP. But my particular strategy is the very famous Knights of the Round one, because it's just the easiest one to do. The first thing you want to do for this strategy, survive the first round. Hopefully Emerald will attack whoever has the underwater materia, in my case, Ketchi. You're going to want to have whoever has W item use hero drinks on Cloud and have him mime that for another 2 to 4, I'd say. On the next round, Yuffie will W summon Knights of the Round. She'll only be able to, I think, get 1 off, just given her MP. Actually, no, with the rate it is, maybe not. But at that point, 1 or 2, whenever Cloud mimes it, he'll do both for no cost. And since Knights of the Round is linked to HP Absorb, for every single Knights of the Round I get HP back. At this point, it just becomes a war of attrition. Hopefully I die before it... Or no, it dies before I die. This fight is infamously difficult, and I've never beaten it. I think I almost always beat it just under the 20-minute time limit, if not just over it. One of the two. This is a hard fight, but if you have a solid strategy down, it's not too bad. You just need to get lucky with the early rounds, I'd say. With that said, something I find very disappointing about it, and it's why I'm playing this particular song over the speed up of it. They don't get a unique fight theme at all. They don't play the Genova theme, they don't play anything, they just play the normal fight theme for the super bosses, and I think that's kind of sad.
Disappointing. Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know what they do for Omega Weapon in 8, but in 9, they just give Ozma the regular...
I actually forget what they do for Omega in 8. This is Air Tam Storm, by the way. I think the eyes spawn at around 3/4 or half HP. Something like that. They're just basically there to be extra targets, and if certain eyes are out, obviously, like Kenny said, certain attacks are more likely to happen, if not guaranteed. Air Tam Storm is the scariest thing here, without a doubt, though. With that said, I'll be real. I think this fight's more worth doing than the other one I'm going to do this part, because
absolutely.
we're doing both weapons this fight. Because... First off, once you get the strategy going, or at least this particular strategy going with Emerald, you're pretty set unless he gets lucky with, like, whenever his moves go out. Whereas the other one, you have to actively do more, or at least pay more attention to what you're doing. And that could be problematic. Also, we didn't really comment on it much, but Knights of the Round's animation's really cool, but really long. It's where most of the length of this fight comes from. But a really cool thing for Final Fantasy XIV, the final boss of the Heavensward expansion is Knights of the Round. But Ultimate End does nothing to you because you're too cool. Well, then you have to stack for it, basically, and have shields.
And yeah, you got the Earth Harp. Oh yeah, the Earth Harp. I forgot about that.
The Earth Harp, you might remember, is something that the Calm Traveler was looking for. And out of all the items, barring the guidebook, of course, to get the underwater materia, this is worth every minute you put into Chocobo grinding. Because for the Earth Harp, he's going to give you a full set of Master Materia. I briefly mentioned these back when we were looking at the huge Materia in the Observatory, but you normally get these for mastering most of a certain set of Materia types. Certain commands, certain summons on certain magic. For beating Ultimate Weapon, or Emerald Weapon, you just get all 3. These have every spell, every summon, and every command in them. They're absurd.
Can you duplicate them?
I don't think they actually honestly, I don't know. I'll be real with you. I've never really spent long enough with them to see if they can get anything with them.
I'm looking this up here.
And now it's time for the second boss fight. You might notice Ketchi and Yuffie are still down. For the strategy I'm taking for this next fight, I need them dead at the start of the battle. And the setup is more or less the same. Ultimate Weapon, Misstyle, the Ribbon. However, Materia-wise, I have W Summon linked to HP Plus, Master Summon linked to MP Turbo, Knights of the Round linked to HP Absorb. In particular, just so that, because whenever you have the Master Summon Materia on, if you still have another Summon Materia on linked to something, that someone will still have that secondary effect with it. And in the desert around the Gold Saucer lies Ruby Weapon. Now, if you don't have two characters dead, at the start of the fight, it's going to spawn two molehills, essentially, or no, whirlpools in the sand that will essentially choose two characters to die. Since I have two dead at the start, I don't have to worry about that. He spawns two tentacles in the back, but those aren't too much to worry about. What we're looking at is Ruby himself. 800,000 HP, 45,000 experience points, 50,000 AP, 30,000 gil. Absorbs all elements except water and gravity. Upon death, we'll drop the Desert Rose, which is the third thing the Traveler's looking for. This thing is powerful. It has Ruby Flame, which does a lot of damage. It has Ultima. It can cast Comet 2, Whirl Sand, which ejects a character from the party. Ruby Flame is just basically the same thing that Genova Death could use, I think.
Oh.
Ruby Ray, which is a powerful attack that inflicts confusion. Shadow Flare, and then its right tentacle can do gravity elemental attacks, which can inflict Frog and Small, and the left tentacle can do the same, but they'll infect MP, and I think they can inflict poison. My strategy for this fight isn't too different, though. We're going to want to W-summon Hades in Knights of the Round, because Ruby Weapon is not immune to stop. So if you start with that, the Ultima counter for Knights of the Round, because that's what it does, it counters Knights of the Round with Ultima, will never come out, and you can just go on from there. With that said, though, you're not completely immune if this happens. You're going to want to do 2 W-summon casts, and then hesitate for Ruby Weapon to come out of the stop status. You'll notice that it comes out of it when it starts moving again instead of just being a static model. Once it starts moving, then use the W-summon again to make sure that you keep this loop going. Compared to Emerald, though, I don't know too many other major strategies other than using Dazers, I think, just to inflict a lot of gravity-based damage. And of course, all Lucky 7s is still going to be very useful here.
After doing some research, you can get as many as you want. It just takes a million years.
Okay, that's... yeah, goddamn.
It takes about a million 26,000 AP in total.
To master, hot damn. That's still less than the underwater Materia, because that takes over 16 million.
Gross.
But I should mention, Hades is a summon, because we didn't use it outside of this fight. It basically acts as Bad Breath, does some damage, but it also tries to inflict every status element in the book.
So I'm noticing that you're dealing quad 9s to Ruby Weapon. How are you lowering its defense?
I think Ruby Weapon just naturally has lower defense, because, let's see, how much defense does it have? 480? Oh, wait, no, I know why. MP Turbo. I have MP Turbo equipped, so it's taking more MP, but it's doing more damage to compensate. Theoretically, you could use the MP Turbo for Emerald Weapon, thinking back, but it depends on whether or not you want to risk Airtam Storm happening earlier than expected. The weapons, though, they're cool boss fights, but compared to some other super bosses in the series, like the various Omegas, Ozma from 9, heck, any of the Dark Aeons in 10, they're very stagnant in how the fight goes. I think probably the coolest super boss I've faced goes to Penance, just because there's so much you have to keep in mind with the pattern of his attacks. But otherwise... yeah, they're not No, there are things to worry about, but if you have a solid strategy going in, you should be fine. Personally, I think Ruby is easier after fighting Emerald, but if you try to fight Ruby first, I think it is the harder fight.
I think it is harder as well.
With that said, they're adding this thing to 14 within the next couple of weeks for us. I think it'll already be in 14 by the time this goes up. And I'm curious about how that fight's gonna go, because, God, the Eden raids are already scary. Especially Eden E4, Eden Sepulture. The Titan fight is terrifying.
Just wait till they add Ozma. Smile.
I think there's already an Ozma mount, but if they ever do add Ozma, oh God. I'm down for it though, because the Chaos is already in the game from 1, Kefka's in the game, so is X-Death. It's only a matter of time before they add things like Necron.
Nothing. Ew.
Hey, they could have more narrative reason for it. At least in 14's
I
case.
hope to God they expand upon that. If they ever remake Final Fantasy IX, they need to expand upon that.
Oh, absolutely. And based on the fact we're back at real speed, I think that means it's gone.
Sadly, only one person gets the credit.
Yeah, but thankfully the others don't have Materia on them anyway. 50,000 AP, it's nothing to laugh at, so if you got some Materia you want mastered more quickly, that's a good strategy for it.
Just equip your Apocalypse.
Oh, that would be disgusting. Ooh, I like the way you think. With that said, let's see what the Desert Rose gets for us.
Nothing special, I promise you.
Oh, absolutely not. If you've done everything we have, it is nothing special. He says that chocobo over there, what does he mean exactly? A gold chocobo. Now, if you don't have Knights of the Round yet, by doing some other strategies to get this is cool. Because that means you don't have to do all the breeding. But Knights of the Round makes them so much easier that it's not worth it to me. That chocobo does stay there if you leave, so in case you want to come back for it later, you can. I'll just let it live out its life with the family it knows and loves before the world ends.
No. Sweet.
But with that, we're going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 34, the beginning of the end, we're heading into the final dungeon.
See you guys then.
What he said.
We're fighting magic pots.
Mmm.